The blind narrator and the girl continued their conversation with each other, and once the narrator suspected that the girl might have discovered about his vitals, but later his doubts were removed, and they just continued their discussion. And the narrator tried, or the narrator felt that he was very much attracted to the girl. Now, the third part, the engine's visual shrieked, the carriage wheels changed their sound and rhythm. The girl got up and began to collect her things. I wondered if she wore her hair in bun or if it was plaited. Perhaps it was hanging loose over her shoulders, or was it cut very short? So the engine's whistle shrieked, engine's whistle shouted a lot. Then the carriage wheels were changed their sound and rhythm. The girl got up and she tried to and began to collect her things. The narrator wondered if she wore her hair in bun or if it was plaited. So the narrator was thinking about the hairstyle of the girl, whether it was a bun or whether it was plaited or whether it was hanging loose over her shoulders or was it cut very short. The train drove slowly into the station. Outside there was the shouting of porters, vendors, and her high-pitched female voice in the carriage door. And the voice must have belonged to the girl's aunt. The train drew slowly into the station. Outside there was the shouting of the porters. Porters were there, vendors were there, they were all shouting now. And among them, a high-pitched female voice was found near the carriage door. That voice must have belonged to the girl's aunt. That voice belonged to the girl's aunt. Goodbye, the girl said. The girl bade farewell goodbye. She was standing very close to me, as close that the perfume from her hair was tantalizing. I wanted to raise my hand and touch her hair, but she moved away. Only the scent of the perfume still lingered where she had stood. She was standing very close to the narrator, and so close that the perfume from her hair, means a type of typical scent, was coming out from her hair. And the girl was standing so close to the narrator that it seemed to be very tantalizing. Means from inside, he felt like doing something. So it was rousing his instinct, it could be said, that the narrator at that time wanted to raise my hand and touch her hair, but she didn't, moved away. So the narrator wanted to raise his hand and touch her hair, but the girl moved away. Only a scent of sweet perfume still lingered where she had stood. So only the narrator could feel and smell the scent from her hair where she was standing. That was lingering or that was staying in the air. There was some confusion in the doorway. A man getting into the compartment stammered an apology. So there was some confusion, means as the girl was getting down, someone might be entering the compartment. So the man who was getting inside the compartment, he just stammered an apology. Perhaps they might have collided with each other. So the man stammered or they expressed an apology to the girl. Then the door banged and the whole world was shut out again. So then the door banged and the door was closed. And the narrator now again came back to his own world, and the rest of the world outside was shut out from him. I returned to my berth. Then the guard blew his whistle and we moved off. So he just came back to his place. He sat down. At that time, the guard just blew. The guard blew his whistle, and the train started. Once again, I had a game to play and a new fellow traveler. So the narrator once had a new game to play and he had a new fellow traveler with him. So the guessing game which we was playing with the girl and pretending to be a person with normal eyesight, same thing. He was about to play with that new fellow traveler. The train gathered speed, the wheels took up their song, the carriage groaned and shook. I found the window and sat in front of it, staring into the daylight that was darkness for me. So the train gathered speed, and the stand picking up speed, and it seemed that the wheels had taken up their rhythm, their song. The carriage groaned, means the carriage compartment which was there. It made a peculiar sound and it just shook. I found the window and sat in front of it. He just found the window, he sat in front of it, staring into the daylight, and that was darkness for me. He was looking at in the daylight, that was really darkness for him. Why? because he could not see. So he was staring in the broad daylight. He had a sensation and a feeling of light, but he could realize that he could not see anything. It was totally dark for him. So many things were happening outside the window. It could be a fascinating game, guessing what went on out there. So many things were going on outside the window. He thought that it would be a very fascinating game, very lovely game, if he would guess something and he would tell his fellow new traveler. He would remark whether he had rightly guessed or wrongly guessed. So, whatever activities went on outside or on the platform, or when the train started outside the window, whatever he could see, he could have guessed and told it to the new fellow traveler. The new fellow traveler could say whether it is right or wrong. But such sort of guessing game would be very fascinating for him. The man who had entered into the compartment broke into my reverie. Reverie means daydream. Daydream. The man who had entered into the compartment means he entered into the compartment from Saharanpur. The girl got off at Saharanpur, and from there the man entered into the compartment. It seemed that he had entered into the world of daydream of the narrator. So the presence of the girl, the conversation with the girl created a sort of spell on the narrator, and he felt that he was dreaming during the day. But the new fellow traveler suddenly entered into the compartment, and his spell was broken into pieces. You must be disappointed, he asked. It is, I am not nearly as attractive a traveling companion as the one who just left. So, the new fellow traveler was also a very jovial person. He pointed out that the narrator must be very disappointed because he was not as attractive as the girl, and the girl was more attractive than him. So that's why he might have disappointed the narrator. We could not understand that the narrator could not see, but it could be said that the narrator had guessed right that the girl was pretty. She was an interesting girl. I said, can you tell me, did she keep her hair long or short? So the narrator said that she was a really interesting girl, but if the man or the new fellow traveler could tell him if she had kept her hair long or short, or if she had kept her hair long or short, means about the hairstyle of the girl. So once the hairstyle of the girl created a sort of curiosity in the narrator, and it continued, and he just wanted to confirm it from his fellow traveler. I don't remember, he said, sounding puzzled. He was a little bit puzzled because he had not noticed the hairstyle of the girl. So he said he could not remember. It was her eyes I noticed. So it was the eyes the narrator noticed. The new fellow traveler noticed the eyes of the girl and not her hair. She had beautiful eyes, but they were of no use to her. She was completely blind, didn't you notice? So he asked the narrator that the girl had beautiful eyes, but they were useless to her, and the narrator had noticed it or not. So this is the point of irony, which it's the highlighting point of the story, that the narrator pretended to be a person with normal eyesight. He tried to hide his blindness in every possible way from the girl, but he tried to hide his blindness from such a person who herself was blind. So the blind girl as well as the blind narrator, they pretended that they could see from each other, but the truth was disclosed ultimately, and it would be rather shocking for the narrator that he tried to hide his weakness or hide his blindness from such a person who even did not have the capability to detect his weakness, and she was blind completely.